Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another Fat Man Reviews Walt Disney World. Specifically, we're going to talk about Rockin Roller Coaster, the Muppet 3D Adventure Show, whatever it is, Tower of Terror, and Fantasmic. What I'm going to do is discuss those four rides specifically. We're going to talk mainly about the seating and what it's like to be a big person and ride those rides, legroom concerns, lack of padding, too much padding, and where you're going to fit in that spectrum. So the first thing on the list we're going to talk about is the Muppet 3D show, adventure, whatever it is. It's a 3D movie and it's not that good. Beyond it not being that good, it's a cool like 15 minutes to kill inside air conditioning, but it's kind of meh. You know, they use the standard slapstick comedy 3Ds where things bounce out of the screen surprisingly at you, but you kind of see them coming from a mile away. It just wasn't entertaining. It wasn't, to me, worth even the 10-minute wait to get into the show. So, plus it's way back there in the back corner that most people won't even visit until closer to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge opening, because it's over there by that entrance that's gonna be there. Now, discussing seating, keep in mind that since I started this whole series on the channel, I've lost weight. I've lost about 100 pounds, so I'm down to like 426, 436. I'm 6'2". Carry most of it kind of in my midsection, broad shoulder, all that fun stuff, long legs. The seating's not that comfortable for me. I had to sit on the edge of the seat. There was no like sitting on the edge and sliding back. It wasn't comfortable, and considering in the last few weeks, I've come to find there's a lot of seating I can sit in with no big deal. This proves how old this attraction is that the seating is really meant for smaller people. So I wouldn't recommend it. Again, it's not that funny, so unless you're a super huge Muppet fan, you're not going to enjoy this attraction. On top of that, if you're a bigger person, poo size, fluffy, whatever definition you go with, it's gonna be very hard to sit in the seats, especially if you carried a lot of it in your midsection. My wife couldn't sit back, and it was to the point like I couldn't even sometimes I can sit on the edge and lean back, and I couldn't even do that. So it just wasn't comfortable. So that's Muppets 3D in Hollywood Studios. If you're a Muppets fan, I'm sorry, it just wasn't entertaining for me, and I am a Muppets fan. The second thing that we took an adventure on is the Rockin Roller Coaster. Now, we did actually stand in the wait for this one. When we entered the queue, it was like a 70-minute wait, but we had like an hour and a half, 2 hours to our fast passes for Tower of Terror, so we jumped in line and waited. Is this ride worth 70-minute wait? Well, to be honest, we ended up waiting probably closer to an 80 to 90-minute wait because things kept happening and it kept delaying it, and no, it's not really worth it. Don't get me wrong, I had an absolute blast on Rockin Roller Coaster. It's so much fun. It's super fast. It does a couple of flips, and it was an amazing ride altogether. But if I stack it with the fact that I had to wait an hour and a half in line to ride it, it wasn't that great of a ride. It was an okay ride. But if I had fast passes for it, I would definitely hop on it every time we go, as long as we have fast passes. Now, when Toy Story Land opens and Galaxy Edge opens, there's a chance that you'll just be able to walk on this ride within 20 or 30 minutes because people will be in those two sections of Hollywood Studios. But, you know, Toy Story Land doesn't open until the 30th of June, and then you got Galaxy's Edge another year away. So, but keep that in mind. Now, as far as seating goes, getting into the car is a little weird because the seats are very close together in the sense that because it's a shoulder harness that comes over your head and down, and any slight pressure on them folds them down. So like my son was getting in the seat behind mine and touched the shoulder harness and almost shoved it all the way down. So getting in for me was a little weird because I had to duck under the harness. At its full height, it's perfectly fine, but in the same sense, getting out is a problem because if I'm not mistaken, there's not like a railing for you to grab onto and pull yourself out of this, so you're kind of like grabbing whatever handhold you can to get out of the car, and it's a pretty deep car. So getting in and out is a little difficult, so if you've got any kind of mobility issues or any kind of disabilities that make getting into low places or getting out of low places onto like a higher platform difficult, this is going to be a little difficult for you. Then on top of that, if you're standing in the queue, there's a good portion of the queue that's elevated. I would say no more than like a 15-degree elevation. It wasn't very steep, but if stuff like that is difficult for you, you're gonna have a difficult time standing in the line if you are standing in the line. It is elevated when you're walking into it, even on fast passes, so just keep those things in mind. Now, as far as the restraints and stuff go, once I got in and got situated, it was great. The restraints came all the way down, they clicked, no big deal. I felt secure. It's got the little handholds on the front so you can hold yourself. Now, I did take my glasses off because I was worried they were gonna fall off. I'm gonna get a strap for them because getting into it without my glasses on, I couldn't focus on some of the words that were flashing by, and so it was blurry and it kind of gave me like a headache. So if you've got glasses, I'd find a way to make sure they can stay on your face, because like I said, this ride does go upside down and it is a very high speed ride. If I'm not mistaken, it gets up like into 60 to 65 miles an hour. So back to the seating, the legroom was okay, but the legroom's kind of in a weird stage. So they've got a platform for you to put your feet on, and then there's a dip in it where you're supposed to put like your backpacks and stuff like that so they don't go flying out. But that's kind of what makes it weird to get into this ride, is you step here, but it's slanted, so your feet can kind of slide. So what I ended up doing is stepping down into the crevice where your bags are supposed to go, sitting down, and then pulling my feet up onto the foot platform, and then I could pull the seat harness all the way down. Allie and I rode side by side. Jordan and Kristen rode in the back seat of our little car, and we all rode fine. I will tell you with this ride, it is very high speed, it is very exhilarating, and it does go upside down a couple of times. You're honestly going so fast that you don't even notice it, and it's in the dark. So if you're one of those people you don't like going upside down, skip this ride because you're not going to enjoy it. I know Jordan didn't care for it, but that's just, he doesn't like rides that go upside down or rides that do like weird drops. He likes Everest, but he doesn't like the big drop on Everest. So keep that in mind when you're considering riding Rockin Roller Coaster. I will say though, it is very air conditioned, and you are going so fast that like the wind is constantly blowing you. By the time I got off the ride, I was freezing, and you're only on it for about 2 minutes. So it can get cold, especially if you've been sweating all day. So you've got sweat and your clothes are wet from sweat, and then you're in this high speed air conditioned ride, and it gets very, very cold in there. So that's just some food for thought. I didn't film any of the seats or the rides because it was our first time doing them, and I kind of like to ride them and see them and experience them before I actually try and film on them. Especially with Rockin Roller Coaster, I wasn't going to risk dropping my camera. So the next thing that we went and did was we went over to our fast passes for Tower of Terror. Tower of Terror, it's basically just a normal seat. There is some like handlebars, but they're very far set back. You can't even notice them, to be honest with you. I sat in it just fine. Plenty of room on the seat belt. And the queue, there's a little bit of an incline when you first come into the queue, but then it flattens out, and you're just pretty much walking flat for the rest of the queue. The queue is really cool. It's really creepy. It's the broken down tower and hotel, and so it's really cool. It's really awesome. The outfits that they wear are probably my absolute favorite cast member outfits. I would totally wear one of the jackets that they wear. I think their outfits are awesome. They just look great. They're fun, and they're probably my favorite cast member outfits. So the ride itself, though, again, it's just a simple chair. Kristen didn't have a problem. I didn't have a problem. The kids sat between us, all 4 of us on the front row. And the seatbelt's got plenty of give for you to buckle. You could pull it out standing, buckle it, and then sit down if you wanted to. In fact, for some people, I would recommend that because the buckle is kind of like back behind you, similar to Soarin', so it's kind of hard to see and get to. Now, with this ride, I will tell you that I clicked my seatbelt as far as it would go, and there was no give to it, but I think in the ride itself, the seatbelts are designed to give so that you do lift off of your seat. So if you don't like high-speed drops or like pushes in, like shooting up, then I wouldn't ride this ride. Now, the thing with it too is you're not actually dropping. The way this ride is designed is Disney found that if they pulled you down with a machine, you would go faster than if they just dropped you. So that's why this ride is such an exhilarating ride for a lot of people, is there's a machine inside of it and it's actually yanking you down faster than the machine can drop. And so that's why the force is so great, and then it yanks you right back up. So it's a very like exhilarating drop ride. I had a ton of fun. I laughed the entire time, but I also practically stood on every drop. And the reason is, like I said, I think the seatbelts are designed to give a little so that it kind of gives you that little bit of exhilaration. And so like I was holding the front handbar with one hand, my hat with the other, laughing the whole time, but every time we dropped, I was basically standing like this. So like my butt was off the seat a good 2 to 3 feet and I was flat-footed. So keep that in mind. That's what kind of ride this is. There are some kind of like creepy, spooky parts leading up to it. The queue once you're inside to get onto the elevators, kind of, it's meant to be like run down and creepy, similar to Haunted Mansion. So if you've got kids that don't like that haunted stuff or the pretend haunted stuff, they're not going to enjoy this ride either. So keep that in mind. But other than that, it's a great ride. Totally had fun. We had fast passes this time, and I have never had to wait in a line for it more than like 5 or 10 minutes. And that most of that was the pre-show that they do. So I don't know if I'd wait more than 20 minutes for it because it's a fun ride, but I don't know if it's like the most fun ride that I've been on. So like Everest, I've waited 50 to 60 minutes for Everest, and I don't mind it because I really enjoy Everest. Rockin Roller Coaster, I might wait 50 minutes for Rockin Roller Coaster. I'd never wait 70 or more or 60 or more. Again, I think 50 would probably be my limit. And I know what you're thinking, like what's another 10 minutes? Tower of Terror, I definitely wouldn't wait that. Maybe 20, 25 minutes. Wait for Tower of Terror. Other than that, I would just get a fast pass for it. So the last thing that we did that was new as far as like seating and stuff goes was Fantasmic. Most of the walk into Fantasmic, I believe, is at an incline. It's probably only about 15 degrees. It's nothing very steep, really easy to get to. I will tell you though, we fast passed it, and I'm not sure, aside from the time we got there, so we didn't actually get to it until like 5 minutes before the show started, and we're able to use our fast passes and everything. But it's a very crowded show. There's only one show. I noticed during the summer there's going to be 2 shows. I would probably go to the later show if you're not getting a fast pass for it, simply because I feel like the later show will be less crowded, similar to Rivers of Light and Animal Kingdom. But beyond that, it's just this water show. We were probably sitting midway up and still got sprinkled on. There's a couple of times where like I shut the camera off because I was worried it was going to get too wet. So keep that in mind. You're going to get wet, moist, slightly coated in water. And the closer you sit, the more wet you're going to get. So keep that in mind when you're picking your seats for Fantasmic. Beyond that, it's a bench seat with no back. So if you're not able to just sit on a metal bench for long periods of time, because I think it's like a 30-minute show, if you're not able to just sit on a metal bench without leaning back or having kind of back support, it could be a little problematic for you. It just depends on how you are and any kind of like possible back injuries or anything you could have. So just keep that in mind when going to see Fantasmic, is that you run the risk of causing more pain on your back or something like that if you require a seat with a back. So just keep that in mind. Other than that, it's a great show. It's a very fun show. A lot of stuff happens. You see a lot of characters, and there's a lot of music and fire and fireworks and Mickey and the whole crew, and it was fun. It was enjoyable. I still think Rivers of Light is my favorite over that show. Again, Happily Ever After still is my favorite over all of them, but that's just me. So that's pretty much my review for these 4 as far as seating goes and being a fat man going to Disney World for these 3 particular attractions. So let me know in the comments what you thought. Let me know in the comments if you've gone to them and had any trouble with any of the seating. Let me know what you thought of the rides just in general. Did you have fun? Did you enjoy them? Were they a blast? Are they your favorites? Let me know. That's what the comments are for, so we can talk, we can chit chat, we can have a blast. I love you guys so much. You guys are awesome. The comments are great. The interaction I get on Twitter and on YouTube is just, it's fun. It's what makes this so much fun and what makes me keep doing this. So keep it up. I really enjoy it. Make sure you share these videos with family and friends who are going to Walt Disney World and may be concerned about riding rides because of their size, because you never know. If we help one person, that's all we got to do. So, love you guys. Hope you enjoyed this Fat Man reviews of Walt Disney World for Rockin Roller Coaster, Tower of Terror, Fantasmic, and the Muppet 3D show. Love you guys. Till tomorrow.